Topping headlines, American Home Mortgage delaying its dividend at the last minute. Jim, this housing bubble, whatever you want to call it, crunch, I don't know.
I think American Home
it's
Mortgage
never ending.
I think it's worthless. I put it on my hit list not that long ago of what has to happen. There's some other ones that people are saying a rest cap could be worthless. I think Novastar is worthless. When I use worthless, what I mean is at least it stops at zero. If I had my druthers, these would be worth -5 and -10. The AHM -5, Novastar -10. Am I being facetious? No, not at all. These shouldn't be trading. But there's no referee here, so they let them trade. I mean, obviously AHM, no one even knows, including AHM, how things are really going. Which then leaves a Countrywide Financial to have 100% market share of a market nobody wants. Well, 50, Wells Fargo, Countrywide, Bank of America, Washington Mutual, Wachovia. They'll be the real home mortgage companies when the smoke clears. Buying them now for that is a big mistake unless you're Warren Buffett or unless you're, somebody who's got a Fidelity with an 18-month time frame. I went over all the home builders they reported last week. They're uniformly absolutely horrible, if not nightmarish. There isn't a single area of the country that's doing well at all, with the exception of right here. This 5-block area is selling very well, mostly to Europeans and Japanese. And I would emphasize to you that when you go over the impairment charges, when you go over the amount of money that is still being put in, like to sample homes, the amount of money they're building homes like crazy. Mostly because they still felt at the beginning of middle of 2006, that things were going to be great. If you're building homes like crazy, you're not going to be making any money. Now, one of the things that I've been working on is the notion of impairment. They're all taking these impairment charges. What does impairment mean? It means that they have a lot that if they were to build a house on it, they would lose money on the house. So let's say that if you had a lot and you built the house for $230,000, you would lose money on the combination land and house. So they just write that down. That's automatic. The auditors are making that. Almost every one of these home builders has giant impairments. Now, after the impairments, they give you the earnings per share, and the earnings per share are good. And what I'm saying is, forget that. The impairments are basically part of the cost of goods sold, I think. Now, that's not what accounting says. Accounting says you can do this. What I'm saying is the accounting really doesn't produce accurate results. So if you look at Centex, they stopped building in the middle of 2006, so they're probably the best. If you look at D.R. Horton and Pulte, they didn't stop building to the end of 2006. They're not good at all. And if you look at a KB Homes or a Hovnanian, they're still building like mad, and they have no idea what they're doing.
How about Toll Brothers? Luxury home builder. They're all over in Brooklyn now and
yeah, well,
parts
they
of
can't really
Manhattan.
fill a lot of those, although they say they do. Now, I want to emphasize that if you asked any of the home builders about my analysis, they would say I'm totally and unequivocally wrong, stupid, don't know how to read a balance sheet, and I enjoy that debate. I didn't, when I was short Crossland in 1990, which subsequently went bankrupt, which was my bank at the time, they were adamant that I was dead wrong. And you know what? The proof is in the pudding. Not only am I not dead wrong, but I will be right psychologically, if not just actually. Anyone who wants to understand how bad things are, all they need to do is go listen to the conference calls. Because what you will hear is management frantically trying to move land for sale, but the amount of land that is still being developed is way too high. Centex, after its realistic quarter saying how bad things were, was then downgraded by a group of people, which tells me that people are still way too bullish on this group. Now, that's incredible to say they're way too bullish, given the fact that when you read the notes, they're also negative. But what I'm saying is I question Hovnanian's ability to stay solvent. And I question KB Homes' ability to stay solvent. Now, obviously, KB Homes and Hovnanian don't question that. And they would obviously question my analysis. But I don't really care. I'm trying to make money for people. I don't want to be Eric Hovnanian's buddy. I'd rather be a realist to say what could happen. I hope it doesn't happen. It would be super if it doesn't happen. And by the way, all this is just wiped away if the Federal Reserve were to cut 100 basis points. And then what I would want to buy is KB Homes. I would want to buy Hovnanian. I would want to buy Toll Brothers. I would want to buy D.R. Horton. I would want to buy Pulte. I would want to buy Centex. In other words, a 100 basis point cut changes everything, and everything that is for sale you want to buy. I think people have to recognize that's why I've been saying short these home builders using puts. Do not short common. That would be taking your life in your hands.